As protests and politics continue in Hyderabad, suspended BJP MLA Raja Singh was arrested and sent to jail. He has been booked under the Preventive Detention Act. In a statement, the police said that Raja has been habitual about delivering provocative speeches, and since 2004, as per records, he has had over 100 criminal cases registered against him. While Raja was sent to jail by the Nampalli court, protester Syed Kashaf, who chanted derogatory slogans, was granted bail by the court.
तो मैं आज रिक्स लेकर आपके सामने आ रहा हूं क्योंकि कोर्ट का आदेश था कि मीडिया को अटेंड नहीं करना है, लेकिन वातावरण देखकर मुझे मजबूरन आज आना पड़ा। आज तेलंगाना में कम्युनल वायलेंस होने का रीजन क्या है, मैं आपको बताने की कोशिश करता हूं। मुनव्वर फारूकी, स्टैंड अप कॉमेडियन, एक चिल्लर कॉमेडियन का प्रोग्राम हमारे म्युनिसिपल केटीआर साहब, जो कि मुख्यमंत्री के बेटे हैं, वो प्रोग्राम को सक्सेस करते हैं। मुस्लिम्स वोट बैंक का इन्होंने एक खेल खेला है, क्योंकि अगर इसका कार्यक्रम रद्द होगा तो बीजेपी की फायदा होगा, अगर इसका कार्यक्रम सक्सेस होगा तो टीआरएस को और एमआईएम को फायदा होगा।
ప్రయత్నాలు జరుగుతా ఉన్నాయి। ఒక మాట మీరు ఆలోచన చేయండి, ఎందుకు ఈ గడబడి చేస్తున్నది బీజేపీ? ఎలా ఎందుకు ఆగమాగమవుతున్నాడు నరేంద్ర మోడీ? ఏం కావాలి ఆయనకు? ఉన్న పదవి చాలదా? ప్రధానమంత్రి పదవి అంతకన్నా పెద్ద పదవి ఏమైనా ఉన్నదా? ఇప్పుడు ఎన్నికలు లేవు కదా, ఏం జరుగుతూ ఉంది? బీహార్లో ఏం జరుగుతూ ఉంది, ఢిల్లీలో ఏం జరుగుతూ ఉంది, బెంగాల్లో ఏం జరుగుతూ ఉంది, మన తెలంగాణలో ఎటువంటి కారు కూతలు కూస్తూ ఉన్నారు? దయచేసి ఆలోచన చేయండి। 8 ఏళ్ల నుంచి మన దగ్గర కఠినంగా వ్యవహారం చేసి సీమ సిట్టుకు మంటలేదు, ప్రశాంతంగా ఉన్న తెలంగాణ సమాజం, హైదరాబాద్ నగరం, మన మొత్తం రాష్ట్రమంతా కూడా అద్భుతమైనటువంటి బ్రహ్మాండమైనటువంటి ప్రశాంత వాతావరణంలో అభివృద్ధి జరుగుతూ ఉంది। మన తలసరి ఆదాయం పెరిగింది, మన జీఎస్డీపీ పెరిగింది, మన వ్యవసాయ ఉత్పత్తులు పెరిగినాయి, మంచినీళ్ళ సదుపాయం వచ్చింది, కరెంటు సదుపాయం వచ్చింది। ఇవాళ ఇంత మంచి కలెక్టరేట్ బిల్డింగులు కట్టుకుంటా ఉన్నాం, రాష్ట్రాన్ని 33 జిల్లాలు చేసుకున్నాం। మరి ఈ దుర్మార్గులు
जो 101 केसेस जो बताया है उसमें मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस तो प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन 151 सीआरपीसी में और 107 सीआरपीसी जो बाइंड ओवर प्रोसीडिंग्स है वो प्रोसीडिंग्स में रजिस्टर किए हुए हैं, और बाकी के जो भी केसेस है वो ऑलमोस्ट 90% केसेस ऑलरेडी एक्विटल हुए हैं कोर्ट में। और रिसेंटली जो एफआईआर्स हुए हैं जो अलेज्ड वीडियो के ऊपर, वो अलेज्ड वीडियो के ऊपर एफआईआर्स हो वो और 4-6 महीने पहले जो केसेस रजिस्टर हुए थे वो केसेस पेंडिंग हैं, और इसके ऊपर भी चैलेंज करने का अभी एक प्रयत्न चल रहा है, और डेफिनेटली इसको राजा सिंह जी को जल्द से जल्द रिहा कराने का कोशिश है।
Now we're joined by my colleague Swastika Das with more on this. Very good morning to you, Swastika. We see here that Raja has been booked again under the PD Act. This was a demand of the protesters. They specifically wanted him to be booked under the PD Act, and that's taken place. But however, the protests that took place yesterday over the last 2 days, they were not entirely peaceful in nature. There was stone pelting that happened. There was also the chanting of these slogans that, of course, incite violence, are very communally divisive. Really, some horrible slogans that were there. Minors were also present at these protests. Now, what was the action that was taken against these activities, which were clearly unlawful, and also the fact that they were immediately freed? Owaisi came and he freed all the 90 people who were detained by the police. So I'm sure there is, a faction that feels like they have been shortchanged while action was taken against them. Perhaps there's been politics, soft politics being played, and soft peddling taking place on the other side.
That's right. You asked me about what happened to the other people who had raised controversial slogans, and the slogan in question is Sartan Se Juda. Well, yesterday the Hyderabad police had arrested Syed Kashaf, Hyderabad influencer who identifies himself as an activist, and he was taken to the court. But what exactly happened was that the court said that his Section 41A CRPC, the procedure was not properly followed, which means that his legal team said that his paperwork and he was not given proper notice by the police in the first place. That's the reason why he was granted bail just a few hours after he was arrested. And this has certainly not gone down well with the supporters of Raja Singh, who say that there is selective action against members of a certain community, and the TRS government is acting under the pressure that it has been facing allegedly from the MIM to take action against the Hindu community. This is the allegation that has been put forth by Raja Singh's legal team as well as his supporters on the ground who staged protests. Now, coming back to the other accused in the case, yesterday, remember, the Hyderabad Commissioner of Police for the first time issued a public statement ever since the protests broke out, saying anybody apart from the person who's been already arrested raising questions or threatening the atmosphere, peaceful atmosphere of the city of Hyderabad, posing a threat to the law and order situation, will be acted upon. So we can expect that the police may crack down more on other activists who had also raised controversial slogan as a counter to Raja Singh's protest and the videos that took place and took the social media by storm. The other side of the story is what happens to some of the MIM leaders who were seen chanting the slogans. Action on them is still awaited. There is no official word on that front. However, sources within the MIM have told us that they have been pulled up by the party chief Asaduddin Owaisi and even have been asked to give an explanation as to why slogans like Sartan Se Juda were raised in what was supposed to be a peaceful protest. Shilpa.
Swastika, on the one hand, the state seems to have successfully contained the protests, so that's good on them, and great that the security of the state is back under control. But on the other hand, the TRS now accused of definitely favoring the MIM. We know that they've had a good working relationship, which is essential to the equilibrium maintained in the state, in the city, especially of Hyderabad. But when it comes to especially this incident, you know, as you're mentioning, Syed Kashaf was booked, he was let off. Then you had some others who were also detained, such as the stone pelters, people who participated in the slogan chanting, and they were let off. So how is TRS being perceived right now in the state?
Well, if you look at how the overall situation played out, it was essentially a fight between the BJP leader here, Raja Singh, who has now been suspended by the party, and the MIM. TRS was facing a lot of flack over the law and order situation. And remember, in the last 72 hours since the protest breakout, the subsequent re-arrest of Raja Singh and the protest against his re-arrest, the TRS has taken a firm hand here because the Chief Minister has given clear standing instructions to the DGP of Telangana, to the top police commissioners in the city, the three of them, to take a firm hand and crack down on those posing a threat to a law and order situation. And in that context, if I give you a sense of what it is like today, this situation is far better from an eyewitness account purely than compared to what it was in the last few days. If you talk in terms of protests, that has slowed down. Of course, there are isolated protests now expected over the re-arrest of Raja Singh, but overall the law and order situation, as the TRS government claims, is at a much better place at the moment. And the TRS has also firmly said that no tolerance policy would be adopted regardless of whoever or whichever stakeholder takes part in protests that could threaten the peace and tranquility and the law and order situation in Hyderabad. However, they have been facing a lot of flack, especially over their good association with Asaduddin Owaisi's party. And remember, Owaisi yesterday had tweeted saying that nearly 90 detainees who had taken part in violent clashes were released on his request, and he had gone on to allege that there were these protesters' house was disproportionately barged by the police. So for overall, the TRS has taken a firm hand, but it is facing a lot of backlash on the ground for being allegedly partial towards Owaisi's party. Shilpa.
Thank you for that temperature check, Swastika.